Magandang umaga sa ating lahat. We are pleased to welcome you all sa press conference ng Philippine Statistics Authority para sa 2025 third quarter performance of the Philippine economy ngayong ikapito ng Nobyembre 2025. Ako si Nicole Navea, ang inyong host para sa press briefing na ito. Para sa ating guests na nais makibahagi sa talakayan, ang ating event ay naka-livestream sa PSA Facebook, TikTok page at maging sa PSA YouTube channel, Philippine Statistics Authority at PSA.gov/PH_. Ang mga updates naman ay posted sa PSA X account gamit ang hashtag PHGDP. Kaugnay nito, upang ibahagi ang mahahalagang impormasyon o updates ukol sa ating ekonomiya, ikinararangal ko pong ipakilala ang ating mga resource persons para sa press conference ng 2025 third quarter performance of the Philippine economy. Sila ay sina Secretary Arsenio M. Balisacan ng Department of Economy, Planning and Development or DepDev, formerly National Economic and Development Authority, at National Statistician and Civil Registrar General under Secretary Claire Dennis S. Mapa ng Philippine Statistics Authority or PSA. Nais din namin kilalanin ang presensya ng iba pang mga opisyal ng DepDev at PSA na kasama natin ngayon both on-site and offline. Mula sa DepDev, kasama po natin ngayon sina Undersecretary Joseph Capuno, Undersecretary Carlos Bernardo Abad Santos, Assistant Secretary Reynaldo Cancio, Director Danilo Lorenzo Atanasio, Director Desiree Joy Narvaez, and Director Francis Fatima Cabana. At mula sa PSA, kasama po natin ngayon ang Deputy National Statistician ng Sectoral Statistics Office, Assistant Secretary Divina Gracia L. Del Prado. Narito rin sa press conference na ito sina Assistant National Statistician for Macroeconomic Account Service, Mr. Mark C. Pascasio, Assistant National Statistician for Social Sector Statistics Service, Mr. Adrian A. Cerezo, and Assistant National Statistician for Economic Sector Statistics Service, Ms. Rachel C. Laksa. Ngayon, atin pong pakinggan ang ulat ni PSA Undersecretary Claire Dennis S. Mapa.
Magandang umaga sa ating lahat. Ang Philippine Statistics Authority ay mag-uulat ng estado ng ekonomiya ng bansa sa ikatlong quarter ng taong 2025. Ang Gross Domestic Product o GDP ng Pilipinas ay nagtala ng pagtaas na 4.0% sa ikatlong quarter ng taong 2025. Ito ay mula sa naitalang 5.2% na pagtaas sa parehong quarter noong nakalipas na taon. Ang Gross National Income o GNI ay nagtala ng pagtaas na 5.6% sa ikatlong quarter ng taong 2025. Gayun din, ang Net Primary Income from the rest of the world ay tumaas ng 16.9% sa ikatlong quarter ng taong 2025. Sa seasonally adjusted national accounts sa ikatlong quarter ng taong 2025, ang GDP ay nagtala ng quarter-on-quarter na pagtaas na nasa 0.4%. Gayon din, ang GNI ay nagtala ng 0.5% quarter-on-quarter na paglago sa parehas na period. Ang mga pangunahing sektor ng ekonomiya na agriculture, forestry and fishing, industry at services ay nagsipagtala ng pagtaas na nasa 2.8%, 0.7% at 5.5% respectively. Sa seasonal adjusted GDP naman, ang services ay nagtala ng may pinakamalaking paglago sa mga pangunahing sektor na mayroong 0.9% sa quarter-on-quarter basis. Sinundan ito ng industry na nagtala ng 0.1%. Samantala, ang agriculture, forestry and fishing ay nagtala ng pagbaba na 2.9% sa quarter-on-quarter basis. Sa ikatlong quarter ng taong 2025, ang per capita GDP ay tumaas ng 3.1%. Ito ay mula sa pagtaas na 4.3% sa parehong quarter noong nakalipas na taon. Ang per capita GNI at per capita household final consumption expenditure ay nakapagtala ng pagtaas na mayroong 4.7% at 3.2% respectively. Sa naitalang pagtaas ng GDP na 4.0% sa ikatlong quarter ng 2025, ang services sector ay nakapagambag ng may pinakamataas na kontribusyon na mayroong 3.6 percentage points. Ito ay sinundan ng agriculture, forestry, and fishing na nakapagtala ng kontribusyon na 0.21 percentage point at ang industry na nakaambag ng 0.9 percentage point sa kabuuang pagtaas ng gross domestic product. Sa 16 na sektor ng GDP, ang human health and social work activities ay nagtala ng may pinakamataas na paglago na nasa 12.2% nitong ikatlong quarter ng taong 2025. Ito ay sinundan ng mga sumusunod: education na tumaas ng 6.8%, public administration and defense, compulsory social security na tumaas ng 6.6%, at professional and business services na tumaas ng 6.2%. Ang mga sektor na may malalaking kontribusyon sa pagtaas ng GDP sa ikatlong quarter ng taong 2025 ay ang mga sumusunod: wholesale and retail trade, repair of motor vehicles and motorcycles na nagambag ng 1.1 percentage points, financial and insurance activities na nagambag ng 0.6 percentage point, at professional and business services na nagambag ng 0.4 percentage point. Sa demand side naman, ang valuables ay nagtala ng may pinakamataas na paglago na mayroong 40.4% sa ikatlong quarter ng taong 2025. Ito ay sinundan ng mga sumusunod: export of goods na tumaas ng 11.6%, imports of services na tumaas ng 6.4%, at government final consumption expenditure na tumaas ng 5.8%. Nitong ikatlong quarter ng taong 2025, ang mga sektor na may malalaking kontribusyon sa pagtaas ng GDP sa expenditure side ay ang mga sumusunod: household final consumption expenditure na nag-ambag ng 3.0 percentage points, net exports of goods and services na nag-ambag ng 1.0 percentage point, at government final consumption expenditure na nag-ambag ng 0.8 percentage point. Ang Philippine Statistics Authority ay malugod na nagpapasalamat sa inyong pagdalo sa National Accounts Press Conference para sa ikatlong quarter ng taong 2025. Salamat at magandang umaga sa ating lahat.
Maraming salamat, Yusek Mapa, para sa ulat ng 2025 third quarter performance of the Philippine economy. Ngayon, atin namang pakinggan si DepDev Secretary Arsenio M. Balisacan para sa kanyang pahayag ukol sa 2025 third quarter performance of the Philippine economy.
Thank you. Members of the media, fellow Filipinos, good morning. As reported by National Statistician and Undersecretary Dennis Mapa, the country's gross domestic product grew by 4.0% in the third quarter, bringing the year-to-date average to 5.0%, below our target range of 5.5 to 6.5%. The Philippine economy continues to grow, but the third quarter's performance reminds us of the urgent need to address key challenges and strengthen our foundations for rapid, sustained, and inclusive growth. It is important to understand the factors behind the slowdown. On the supply side, services and industry posted weaker growth, with a sharp contraction in public construction due to stricter validation measures for DPWH civil works, as well as the implementation of stricter requirements that delayed billings and disbursement for government projects. Private construction remained respectable, but investment in durable equipment was subdued. On the demand side, household consumption growth slowed to 4.1%. Widespread cancellations of school, work, and travel activities due to typhoons likely dampened spending. Moreover, consumer confidence may have been affected by the ongoing proofs and discussions on government's infrastructure spending, prompting many households to postpone purchases, especially durable goods. Compared to the second quarter, we also observe a lower disbursement of conditional cash transfers during the third quarter, which contributed to weaker consumption. These trends both reflect and affect consumer and business expectations and provide a clear signal for the government to act boldly and decisively. In response to these challenges, the government is implementing strategic interventions aimed at bolstering investor confidence and consumer trust, and thereby accelerating economic growth. First, we are fast-tracking social protection and financial aid for families and communities affected by the recent calamities. Agencies and LGUs are restoring infrastructure and services in key areas like Cebu and Davao, which were severely impacted by Typhoon Tino and the recent earthquake. We acknowledge that the class and work suspensions in the third quarter due to successive typhoons were more extensive than anticipated. These disruptions affected school, work, tourism, and local commerce. With the official declaration of a national state of calamity, the government now has the authority to access emergency funds more quickly to support urgent needs, control prices of basic goods to prevent hoarding and inflation, fast-track relief, rehabilitation, and recovery operations across affected regions, and mobilize national and local resources without bureaucratic delays. These measures will help accelerate the restoration of economic activity and protect vulnerable communities. In the remainder of the year, we will prioritize a timely release of conditional cash transfers, disbursement of calamity quick response and contingency funds, and the rapid rehabilitation of damaged infrastructure such as bridges, dikes, and roads to prime the economy for recovery. We understand the pressures Filipino families face. That's why we are prioritizing social protection, affordable services, and job creation to ensure inclusive recovery. While we may not be able to fully recover the economic losses within the year, we believe these are temporary setbacks. With sustained interventions and improved resilience, we expect the economy to rebound in 2026. For the medium to long term, we are increasing investments in disaster preparedness and adaptation to minimize disruptions in school, work, and other economic activities, and more importantly, to protect the lives and livelihood of the people. Second, on the external front, electronics exports may continue to benefit from stable external demand as well as the exemption from the U.S. tariff increases. In this, we are aggressively pursuing free trade agreements with the UAE, Chile, EU, and Canada, and fully implementing the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. We will expand e-visa access beyond Chinese travelers and promote diverse travel experiences, including Muslim-friendly tourism, as well as sports and food tourism. In business process outsourcing, we are ramping up efforts to enable the shift toward higher value services and digital skills, considering technological advances in AI. The full implementation of the Konektadong Pinoy Act is expected to remove barriers to entry, promote competition, and make internet connectivity more accessible and affordable in support of the digital economy, particularly in emerging BPO hubs outside Metro Manila. Third, we will call government agencies to prioritize underutilized programs and expedite the utilization of the 2025 national budget. It is clear that transparency and accountability remain foundational to foster a culture of trust in our institutions. We must harness digital tools like the modernized PhilJEP's Open Data Portal and the Digital Imaging for Monitoring and Evaluation, or DIME, project, and push for stronger project and program oversight. We are committed to rebuilding investor confidence by ensuring that every peso of taxpayer money is spent wisely and efficiently. We encourage Filipinos to report delays or irregularities through platforms like the Sumbong sa Pangulo, for example. We will pursue legislative measures and operational reforms to strategically address constraints to good governance and effective public financial management. This includes strengthening transparency, improving budget execution, and enhancing institutional coordination. We are working closely with our legislators to ensure enactment of priority legislation under the Common Legislative Agenda for the 20th Congress, as endorsed by the Legislative Executive Development Advisory Council, or LEDAC. Building on the gains of the 19th Congress, the Common Legislative Agenda includes 44 priority measures aimed at driving social and economic transformation. Among these are key reforms to improve governance and fight corruption, such as amendments to the Bank Deposit Secrecy Law to enhance transparency in financial transactions and support anti-corruption investigations. Amendments to the Anti-Money Laundering Act to strengthen enforcement and compliance. The proposed Master Plan for Infrastructure and National Development to align long-term investment with national priorities. To disqualify relatives of public officials up to the 4th degree from participating in government contracts to prevent conflicts of interest and promote integrity. At DepDev, we are working toward improving and tightening planning and budgeting linkages by accelerating the interoperability of systems and implementing program convergence budgeting. This will help ensure that plans translate into meaningful and efficient resource allocation through stronger policy, program, and project coordination. Taking stock of these lessons we have learned, we are also ramping up strategic monitoring and evaluation of key projects and programs to strengthen the feedback loop from implementation back to policy, planning, and investment programming. At the regional level, we will strengthen economic governance through our regional development councils and conduct budget tracing exercises to be reported to the President through the LEDAC and the Economy and Development Council. We will also ramp up capacity building for LGUs in planning, project appraisal, investment programming, and monitoring and evaluation, ensuring that they are better equipped to propose and carry out projects that are most responsive to their development needs. Let me emphasize that the fight against corruption must be a whole of society effort. It takes two to tango. While government must rightfully go after the crooked and reform its systems and processes. The private sector must also play an active role in championing good governance. At the same time, a vigilant civil society is an invaluable partner in reporting irregularities and demanding accountability. Despite these challenges, we remain optimistic. The Philippines has strong macroeconomic fundamentals, low inflation, manageable fiscal deficit and public debt, stable currency and external balance, and a stable banking sector. On top of this, we have a young and resilient workforce and a reform-driven government. We are committed to rebuilding investor confidence and restoring public trust by upholding sound economic governance toward inclusive growth and raising further the potential of our economy by accelerating the momentum for transformative reforms. Let us remain united in working toward a matatag, maginhawa at panatag na buhay for every Filipino. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po, Secretary Balisacan. Dumako na po tayo sa ating open forum. Bago natin ito simulan, nais po naming pasalamatan ang lahat ng ating mga media partners na kasama sa press briefing na ito. Para po sa maayos na pagsasagawa ng ating open forum ay narito ang ilang mga paalaala. Para sa mga online participants, maaari po ninyong gamitin ang raise hand feature ng Zoom kung nais niyo pong direktang magtanong sa ating mga resource persons. Kapag kayo po ay natawag upang magtanong, pakibanggit po muna ang inyong pangalan at ang organisasyong inyong kinabibilangan bago po banggitin ang inyong tanong. Maaari rin po kayong magpadala ng katanungan gamit ang chat box. Siguraduhin lamang po na nakalagay ang inyong pangalan at ang organisasyong inyong kinabibilangan. Panatilihin po nating nakamute ang ating mga mics kung kayo po ay hindi pa natatawag upang magtanong. Para po sa ating mga on-site participants, pakitaas po ang inyong kamay kung kayo ay may katanungan at hintayin lamang po na kayo ay ma-acknowledge upang magtanong. Kapag kayo ay natawag upang magtanong, pakibanggit po ang inyong pangalan at ang organisasyong inyong kinabibilangan bago banggitin ang inyong tanong. Para sa kopya ng ating press kits, ipapadala po namin ito sa ating online media participants via email. Pagkatapos po ninyong sagutan ang evaluation form na ipapadala via email, Zoom at Viber chat. Ang printout ng ating press kit ay ibibigay po ng aming staff sa on-site media participants pagkatapos sagutan ang printed evaluation form. Ngayon ay handa na po tayo para sa ating open forum. So may I know if you have questions from our on-site participants? Okay, we'll go first with Ms. Ditas Lopez of Bloomberg.
Good morning, Secretary. Given today's latest data, what's your outlook for the rest of 2025 and for 2026? Thank you.
As I mentioned earlier, we expect the economy to recover, and we are working on various levers to recover some of the lost grounds in the previous quarter, getting them reflected in our fourth quarter performance. Hopefully we can ramp up those efforts that we're doing that I mentioned in my speech are implemented properly, and with that we can I would still expect that the fourth quarter performance will be better than the third quarter, and that will enable us at least to hit the fives, no? I don't know where in the fives, but definitely we would want to. That's for us is a low level. It's very challenging to meet already even the lower range of the 5.5 because that would mean that the fourth quarter would have to grow at 6.9% or something around that, and the challenges that we're facing right now. We are seeing another super typhoon coming to our shores in this weekend. So, and you can see that a lot of those factors that reduce the performance of the economy in the third quarters come from this cancellations of work, classes, um, travels, and so on, and could and we have a number of many of these other before the year ends as project forecast by Pag-asa. Um, of course, as I also mentioned, our response to this is more longer term. We don't have any option but to really spend more our resources into strengthening the resiliency of our various sectors, the economy. And so we need to go beyond simply adapting to climate change, but to making our economies, our agriculture, industry, and services more resilient, not just to climate change-related disruptions, but also technological disruptions like AI. So broadly, and as I also explicitly mentioned in my speech, if we are able to gain from the 2025 and strengthen our institutions toward better governance and improve our accountability in our systems, we should be able to recover lost grounds as well in the consumer and investor confidence, so that would lift our growth to in 2025 and beyond.
Secretary,
2026 and beyond, yeah.
Secretary, you talk about pursuing measures decisively and boldly. And you mentioned some of these measures, but do you think the economy would also benefit from further reduction in interest rates? Thank you.
Of course, no question about that. What has tempered the effects of reductions in the policy rates and also the gradual decline in the inflation are these disturbances, the shocks that I just mentioned. Otherwise, if without those shocks, we should have felt the impact already of those declining policy rates and inflation. And as we need to get our policies harmonized, no? As we try to recover lost grounds, we also make sure that this momentum toward loosening further the policy rate will continue. Of course, there are other factors to consider, no? It just also depends on what the U.S., for example, do, because you cannot widen the difference between our policy rate and the policy rates of countries like the U.S. Otherwise, that will destabilize our capital market as well, no? So these are going to be taken into account.
Even though the issue is confidence, there is still a need to cut the interest rates. Do you think the central bank should cut more than it has already indicated it would for the rest of the year or for the coming months? Thank you.
As I said, it depends on what they are seeing, because it is a careful balancing of what we need in terms of reinvigorating the economy by decreasing the interest rate. But as I said, it also you really do not have the full independence from that. We are too integrated with the rest of the world, no? So again, if there are no drastic changes externally in the external front, then we have more elbow room to reduce our interest rate. But if the U.S. is bent on also keeping their interest rates high, then we need to be extra careful because remaining capital here might just move out, and that could have serious repercussions on your exchange rate and other macroeconomic variables. No?
Thank you very much. Our next question will be coming from Sir Mikhail Flores of Reuters.
Good morning. For NS MAPA and to SecRC. Sir, on the 26.2% decline of general government, we just want to confirm, based on the time series data, if this is the lowest since the third quarter of 2011. And related to that, SecRC, given this, in 2011, government spending declined largely due to the Aquino administration's crackdown on corruption-related issues at the time. No? So we see some similarities. But this year, I mean, under the Marcos administration, we don't have the DAP as a stimulus measure anymore. So what sort of bounce back measures are you looking at, or are we seeing government spending to further decline in the coming quarters, given the stringent requirements that we're enforcing now to mitigate the corruption risks? Thank you.
Okay, for the data on public construction, the Q3 2025 growth there is, as you mentioned, negative 26.2. There were two numbers that are closer to this. This is equivalent to, or the lowest since the Q3 2021, which is at negative 22.5%. Q3 2011, Q3 2011 at negative 22%. So yes, that is the lowest since Q3 2011. Sec.
Okay, yeah. There are two things, no? One is the increasing government spending. The other thing is improving the quality of that spending. Both are important, and especially in the aftermath of these scandals, we see that there's so much space for improving the quality of spending. And that's what actually what we want. Even if we have to reduce the overall level of spending, if it's going to the right areas, right sectors, right priorities that we are working on, the impact of that on the overall economy and the inclusivity of the growth will be even greater. I would prefer that than just simply raising spending and for example, as we have been saying, we over the years, in recent years, have been aiming for 5 to 6% of GDP for infrastructure spending, right? Just to catch up with the rest of our neighbors, and we needed to do that for the next decade or so, right? But as we are seeing now, the productive capacity that we had wanted to happen was muted by all this corruption. So because the investment in infrastructure that we are trying to ramp up is supposed to enhance the capacity of the economy to produce more, to employ more, to generate higher quality jobs. But if these are not going are creating that, then it's not the right spending. And that, on the other hand, what we are seeing is that there is a lot also of underspending in key priority areas of government for the remaining year, for this year, and that's what we are working on to ensure that those projects and programs that are clearly not involved with or with corruption should not be should be allowed to proceed, and they must be quickly implemented. And those projects that were already intended for 2025 that were already completed and are not involved with with any of those red flags, they should be paid. They should be so that the resources, the funds will recirculate in the economy and create other opportunities, more opportunities. So moving forward, that's what we want to happen through our reforms in our governance and institutions, particularly in the execution of projects, that we continue to raise the level of spending, but the quality of that spending must substantially improve.
And Sec RC, looking back, do you think there was too much emphasis on ramping up the level of infrastructure spending to 5 to 6% to raise productive capacity and catch up with our neighbors, without looking so much into the quality of the infrastructure projects that we are producing and that we have been producing for the last decade or so?
No, not at all. Given the backlogs that we are seeing in the quality and the various infrastructure that we have, from roads to railways to airports to water and sanitation, irrigation, there's huge backlog out there. And we really need to invest in those just to catch up on the type of quality of services that our investors find in our neighbors, and to improve and reduce the cost of those services and goods for our consumers. Electricity alone there's such a huge investment requirement there to prime the economy in the coming years. No? So what I think lag behind, and we should have worked harder, is the governance and institutional mechanisms that would allow us to accommodate such kind of spending. And this is where I think an important lesson, that we did not focus much on equally important areas of good economic management, and it is the governance and the institutions that or the ecosystem that would allow us to ensure that there is consistency between policy design and implementation and outcomes.
Thank you.
Ernest.
Yeah, I'd just like to correct the number. The date is correct at Q3 2011, but the number is minus 28.6%, not minus 22. So it's lowest since third quarter of 2011, where the growth rate during the time was recorded at negative 28.6%. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think, NS, this will also answer the question of Miss Eileen Menches online and Sir Ted Cordero of GMA News Online. So if you exclude the shock of the COVID-19 pandemic, when did GDP last hit 4% or lower? And when was household consumption last hit 4.1% or lower? So the related question coming from Sir Ted Cordero is, slowest since when po ang 4% GDP growth rate nitong third quarter?
Okay, yung ating GDP nitong third quarter, 4.0%. Of course, noong COVID pandemic, mayroon tayong Q1 2021 minus 3.8%. Excluding that particular period, it will be like lowest since Q3 2011, kung saan nagkaroon tayo ng growth rate na 3.0 sa GDP. Doon naman sa household final consumption expenditure, our growth rate for this quarter is 4.1%. Again, if you're checking the time series data, we had negative growth rate in the household final consumption expenditure during the COVID pandemic period. In fact, the lowest was Q1, lowest since Q1 2021 at minus 4.8%. Excluding that, the COVID pandemic period, it will be lowest since Q3 2010, when the HFCE growth rate was recorded at 2.6%. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yusek Mapa. Any questions coming from our on-site participants? All right. Yes, ma'am, please.
Desiderio. I'm from Philippine Star. Sir, given the latest performance, and since you said that will be challenging to hit even the lower end of the growth target. Is the government going to meet and still adjust the growth target for the year? And given that you're more optimistic for next year, are you inclined to keep the growth target for next year? Thank you.
Yeah, we definitely have to meet our economic team, the BCC in particular, no, to review our macroeconomic targets for the year and also next year, give in light of these recent developments. We normally do that every time there is a report on the economic performance of the economy, and we would expect to see some changes, but I can't tell you at this time what those ones will be, because I think that while there is of course an upward pressure on for example, on the deficit because of this lower growth than expected when these target deficit levels were set. We needed to figure out to what extent that can be mitigated. For example, as I said, there are likely huge or underspending in some areas because of this suspension of releases of funds for projects that are doubtful in light of this ongoing investigations. No? But on the other hand, as I mentioned also earlier, we want to release those funds that are not that are clearly do not see, or where we do not see red flags. And next year, as I said earlier, we expect to see better performance, and I think that's one thing that's going also moving forward, is that IMF has upgraded a bit its projection for the global economy this year, no? And is keeping its growth projection next year. So if that's so, then there will be no further deterioration in the global economy. That's also good for us. No? You see, as we earlier presented, the external sector did well in the third quarter. The exports growing faster than imports, and in contrast to previous quarters, now where the net exports were pulling down the growth because of the negative growth in that particular sector. Unfortunately, there is just so much decline in the other sectors of the economy that positive effects of the net of the external sector were muted. So we hope that our performance at the external front will be as favorable as in the third quarter moving forward, and again our pursuit of our efforts to tighten our governance and institutional mechanisms to ensure that our funds go to areas and projects and programs that they're really intended to.
Thank you very much. At this point, we'll accommodate the last two questions coming from this Q&A forum. So for those questions that cannot be accommodated, please approach our secretariat so that our subject matter division can respond to that. And for those online, you may also email so that we can also answer. We have another question coming from Ms. Aubrey Inosante of Business World, to be followed by Ms. Bernadette Reyes of GMA 7.
Okay. Good morning po. I'm Aubrey Nasante from Business World. A question lang po for household consumption. Do you think the holiday boost is enough to lift the consumption? and even the whole fourth quarter growth?
In the past, it does. It usually boosts the holidays, especially the long holidays. It usually boost performance in the fourth quarter. No, that and I think that will continue. That will remain the same for this coming for 2025. There is another. Peculiar thing about our case as an economy, and that is the role of remittances, no? Especially during times when the economy is hit by shocks, no? And if these shocks are adverse, like the typhoons, for example, and we see a more altruistic that altruistic motive coming into play, no, by members of households, increasing the rate of remittance to their members of households in the Philippines. So you might see that. Hopefully we will see that you'll have a faster growth of remittances in November, December than what we have seen in previous months. And that will certainly add to the upward pressure on consumption.
Thank you, sir. I have another question po. The upper end of the target, the 6.5, do you still see a 6% growth or even more than that still feasible po? Since you said that the 5.5% is challenging enough given the third quarter result po. Yes, sir. For 2025, the upper end of the 5.5 to 6.5
Yeah,
goal.
realistically, I think that's a um, not not quite likely because what that means is that the fourth quarter growth would have to be at least 6.9 or 6.8, no, 6.8%, and given the shocks that are happening at the moment that are expected to linger to the remaining weeks before the year ends, that's quite challenging. But my own take is that if you can get at least to the fives, that would be a very good achievement, given the shocks that were not anticipated and that had happened, and so while we see the fourth quarter performance to be better than the third quarter, 6.8 maybe quite high, but again, we can be surprised as the current case is. Everybody was surprised with this number, right? Even ourselves in the economic team, for us who are so used to looking at the behavior of the economy, and yet you see such a major departure. Of course, it's unexpected. On the one hand, given what we're seeing, as I was saying about a week or two ago, with all these disruptions that's happening, you would expect some effects of that on the economy, and yeah. So the key is we need to recover from those lost grounds. We have already set the grounds for making that happen, and so moving forward, especially in next year, we should be able to come stronger.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you very much. Next question coming from Ms. Bernadette Reyes of GMA 7.
Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Secretary. I would like to withdraw my question. It has already been answered. Thank
All
you.
right, maybe we can accommodate the last one, but I think we have a question coming from Sir Ramon of Nikkei Asia, or would you defer? Okay, the last one would be coming from Ms. Denise Osorio of PTV4.
Good morning po, sirs. I would just like to clarify po regarding the funding, the spending. Does this include the reallocation of funds coming from the DPWH that will be transferred or is currently being transferred to other departments?
Yes, that forms part of it, but there are also, I think the performance of the agencies in the third quarter was affected not only in the public flood control projects, not only for the flood control projects, but also other projects that have particular infrastructure. No, so we are looking at that wider space, no, to ensure that we are spending those resources as they are intended to, provided that they meet those requirements, that they are not wasteful spending.
Thank you very much, Secretary Balisacan. Dito na po nagtatapos ang ating open forum. Nais po naming pasalamatan ang ating mga resource persons, DepDev Secretary Arsenio M. Balisacan at PSA Undersecretary Claire Dennis S. Mapa. Maraming salamat din po sa iba pang mga opisyal ng DepDev at PSA na kasama natin ngayon. Gayon din po sa ating mga media partners na nakilahok sa press conference na ito ng Philippine Statistics Authority para sa 2025 third quarter performance of the Philippine economy. Sana po ay patuloy niyo kaming suportahan. Maaari niyo pong bisitahin ang Philippine Statistics Authority website sa www.psa.gov.ph para sa karagdagang updates. Muli, ako po si Nicole Nevea mula sa PSA. Magandang umaga sa ating lahat.